This is CNN.
GM auto workers lay down their strike signs and vote to go back to work after a week and a half off the job and a shutdown of several plants nationwide.
In Florida, hurricane victims begin to rebuild amid allegations their homes may have been shoddily built and rumors their insurance will go up.
A late update of the day's news. This is World News on CNN with David French in Washington and Cathy Marshall sitting in for Andrea Arsenault in Atlanta.
Thanks for joining us. A strike which closed 9 General Motors plants and kept tens of thousands of workers out of them is over. Members of the United Auto Workers have reached a settlement with GM to get its parts plant in Lordstown, Ohio running once again. They begin returning to work tonight. Workers voted overwhelmingly to approve the agreement, which saves some jobs that GM originally planned to eliminate, and it covers health and safety issues. 2,400 workers struck the Lordstown plant for 9 days.
I was more surprised. I thought it might go till Labor Day. And the way things were looking, looked like it might have gone longer, but I'm glad it's over.
I'm real happy with it. The fact that we retained the 270 jobs that we lost, to put a stop to the outsourcing, all the major grievances, all the complaints, I'm sure that the membership was real happy with it.
The strike stopped parts production in Lordstown and car production in 9 assembly plants across the country because they ran out of parts. Nearly 43,000 workers were idled at those facilities. It's uncertain when they'll get back to work.
Material people are trying to find out from Lordstown exactly what the production priorities are. In other words, what plant are they going to begin building parts for first? And then secondly, I suppose, how long it's going to take for our quarter panels particularly to be built and shipped. We don't know the answers to that right now, and until we find out, we'll not make any announcements in terms of when our workforce will come back to work.
Analysts characterize the settlement as a victory for the UAW and a defeat for GM, but GM says it got the best settlement possible.
Thousands of volunteers are spending Labor Day weekend laboring in South Florida. They're helping clean up and repair damage from Hurricane Andrew. And construction workers are being held to new, tougher standards by building inspectors. CNN's John Holloman has more.
The rebuilding effort. Thank you, guys.
Money, food, and clothing flowing into Homestead almost as fast as Andrew's winds blew things away.
That out of the ashes of Hurricane Andrew, that there will be a greater Miami and a greater Florida, and it could touch America and the world.
We were able to give the mayor of Homestead and the city manager the first check for sort of helping them in some of their problems, $690,000. That's a start.
On the streets of South Florida, the people are rebuilding.
Aren't you happy? You're not going to get rained on anymore. No more rain.
The Federal Bureau of Investigation is now trying to find out if building supply companies and manufacturers are gouging homeowners. The story on the streets is that one insurance company has already decided to boost rates and use Andrew as the excuse. Federal Emergency Management Agency officials say 97,000 homes have been destroyed and more than 100,000 are still without power. The official estimate to repair the damage, $20 billion.
Some of the mass confusion has settled down. People are now, have food, clothing, shelter, and they're getting down to business of finding financial help.
The role of the military, which came here to feed and shelter the homeless, is changing.
And I think something that's very visible if you walk around is the emotional rebuilding. We've got soldiers literally just reaching out and grabbing the civilian community, hugging and providing as much emotional support as we can.
There are 24,000 troops and guardsmen patrolling the streets, and in athletic fields and vacant lots, tent cities are waiting for the homeless. There are 2,800 cots inside, but only 400 of them were filled last night. With as many as 250,000 estimated homeless, some of the shelters are shutting down.
Tonight is our last night here at this location, and then we'll be moving over to the tents for tomorrow. So it's nothing I'm looking forward to. It's just something I got to face now.
Officials want people to go to the hospital for medical care and want to reopen Homestead Middle School to students as soon as possible. For the people of South Florida, recovery is going to be many, many months away. And for the millions of people in the United States and other countries who have donated assistance here, this must be a time of frustration. Because despite the fact that most of the food and clothing and other assistance that's been donated is going to people who need it, in many cases, organizational or bureaucratic hassles have left much of the aid here in the garbage. John Holloman, CNN, Homestead, Florida.
President Bush announced that the federal government will pay 100% of public assistance costs in hurricane-damaged Louisiana. The additional aid will help the state remove debris, eliminate immediate threats to public health and safety, and carry out emergency work to save lives. The aid is the same as promised for Florida. Meanwhile, President Bush is attempting to reach out to swing voters this Labor Day weekend. He campaigned today in Ohio and North Carolina. CNN's Jill Doherty is traveling with the president and has this report.
At an Oktoberfest celebration in Paynesville, Ohio, George Bush had a pancake and bratwurst breakfast, kicking off a Labor Day weekend campaign swing through 6 battleground states, trying to win back so-called Reagan Democrats, now threatening to defect to Bill Clinton.
We're going after Governor Clinton, and we're going to do him in. You watch.
Outside, a barbed attack on Clinton. Inside, an olive branch to Democratic voters.
And I salute not only the Republicans that are here, but I know there are many, many Democrats with us, and I'm very proud and pleased about that.
Here in Paynesville, Bush did not deliver his standard broad-based attack on Clinton. Instead, he focused on what he called 2 fundamentally different views of health care, painting a bleak picture of what would happen under Clinton's plan to force businesses to provide or pay for health care.
Put government in control, let government fix the prices, let government ration the kind of care that people get and how much what.
And following a new tack in his campaign, he sharpened the focus on Clinton's record in Arkansas.
After having Governor Clinton for 12 years, 1 in 4 folks in Arkansas don't even have health insurance. And Bill Clinton has promised he'll do for America what he's done for Arkansas. And my question is, why would we let him?
Later, Bush claimed Clinton had the worst environmental record in the world. In Asheville, North Carolina, the courting of Democrats continued as George and Barbara Bush visited the house of Roy and Deantha Harris. Roy Harris is an engineer.
Registered Democrat, as you said in a local paper this morning.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very hospitable one at that.
Later at a North Carolina Apple Festival in Hendersonville, Bush contrasted what he called clear differences between himself and Clinton. And after a week of dispensing federal money for hurricane victims, farmers, and arms contractors, Bush defended himself against charges of pandering.
Governor Clinton was outraged. He accused me of pandering. Now, that's the same guy that Paul Tsongas called the Pander Bear. You remember that in the primary. He's now acting like Goldilocks, saying somebody's been sleeping in my bed.
Labor Day is the traditional start of the fall campaign, but this time George Bush already finds himself deep in the middle of his campaign, fighting for every vote. Jill Doherty, CNN, Hendersonville, North Carolina.
Bill Clinton wasn't just taking criticism today, he was also dishing it out. On the stump in conservative Columbia, South Carolina, Clinton tried to turn the tables on President Bush, painting him as a big spender. The Arkansas governor told a crowd of about 3,000 that the White House staff budget had increased 23% in 1 year. Clinton said he wants to slash that budget 25% and make other spending changes as well.
There are changes which have to be made. I do not want to go back to the past. I don't want to pull this country to the right or the left. I want us to walk confidently together into the future. The government has failed us the way it is operating, but I have proposed real change. The other side talks about being against mindless government spending. But you know which president presided over the biggest increase in spending in peacetime history? George Bush.
Time magazine has polled 5 key suburban areas and found some encouraging news for Bill Clinton. In Middlesex County, New Jersey, Clinton outpolls President Bush by 13 points. In DeKalb County, Georgia, the Arkansas governor leads by 23 points. It's a virtual dead heat in Montgomery County, Ohio. But in St. Louis County, Missouri, Clinton is ahead by 11 points, and he's leading by 28 points in Contra Costa County, California.
Just ahead on World News, was it a missile attack that caused the crash of an Italian relief plane over Bosnia-Herzegovina? We'll have the latest on that story. At 14 past the hour, their jobs may not be glamorous, but the ship would not sail without them. And at 55 past, it's a sport uncommon for women, but the ones involved are real knockouts.
Some call him the funniest man of all time. From the golden age of television, he was the king of comedy. Now, for the first time on video, see the all-star comedy classics that made Red Skelton great.
Won't sing, huh? No, I won't sing. All right, then maybe this'll make you sing. You're on top of those smoke. All right, boys. Well, let's take it back to the hotel. No, I'm not saying a word. Hey, got those guns. Those guns. Come on. Stop it, I beg you. Will you stop it?
See all of Red's hilarious comedy characters like Cauliflower McPug, Clem Cadiddle Hopper, Willie Lump Lump, Deadeye, and, of course, Freddie the Freeloader. This is the funniest collection of comedy ever seen on TV.
Pour a little in your glass and drink it right down, but be sure and ask for Guzzler's Gin, a nice, smooth drink.
On this special TV offer, you see Red in great star-studded performances with Bing Crosby, Vincent Price, Jack Benny, Harpo Marx.
And if by chance someday you're not feeling well, and you should remember some silly little thing that I said or done, and it brings back a smile to your face and a chuckle to your heart, then my purpose has been served for my fellow man. May I wish you all continued success, and God bless. Good night.
He made you laugh before. He'll make you laugh again. Don't wait. Call now for Rush Delivery.
Call toll-free 1-800-592-3700 or send $19.95 plus $4 shipping and handling to this address. But for fastest delivery, have your credit card ready and call right now. 1-800-592-3700.
The communist government of Cuba today staged a belated commemoration of the start of the revolution that brought Fidel Castro to power in 1959. The traditional July 26th celebration had been postponed because Castro was at a summit in Spain. Tonight, he spoke to the nation, and despite harsh economic conditions, the communist leader said he would resist pressure for capitalist reforms. He also said he would suspend construction of a nuclear power plant. He said the Russian government made tough economic demands to continue helping with the project.
A UN officer says an initial investigation points to a missile attack on an Italian relief plane over Bosnia-Herzegovina. Investigators have been combing the rubble of the plane that went down on Thursday. All 4 crew members were killed. Italian officials say they cannot rule out a missile hit, but that the probe into the crash could take months. U.S. Defense Secretary Dick Cheney spoke on CNN today about the options for protecting relief flights.
You can go in and occupy the ground from which the rounds were fired. Or apparently fired. That you know, you're talking about thousands of personnel on the ground. This is a very rough, very mountainous terrain. You could talk about providing cover with helicopter gunships, and if someone's foolish enough to fire a missile at a transporting craft that's inbound, you could then in fact attack those spots. You could begin to use flares to divert heat-seeking missiles away from the aircraft. So there are various ways you could operate if, in fact, we have to operate in that kind of an environment.
The UN has suspended all relief flights to the war-ravaged country, but with the weather getting colder, the people of Sarajevo are becoming even more desperate for that UN lifeline of supplies.
UN experts arrived in Iraq today to determine whether 2 plants built to destroy the country's chemical weapons are ready for operation.